I mean, this would be a good cruiser just to take your girl out and mess around.
Well, I tell you, it's pretty sharp looking. It's pretty sharp looking car if I could open the door.
Fast and Loud was pulling some of its strongest ratings, and then it ended out of the blue. When Fast and Loud hit its peak, millions were watching Richard Rawlings and Aaron Kaufman turn rust into profit. But behind the success were tensions, departures, and decisions that quietly changed the course of the show. By 2020, after 16 seasons, it was gone. And the timing didn't make sense to many fans. So what really caused Fast and Loud to end when it did? And where are the people who made the show what it was? Join us as we uncover what happened to Fast and Loud, how the show started, and what made it work. Richard Rawlings did not begin his professional life in a garage. He started his career in the printing and advertising industry, founding a company called Lincoln Press in 1999. He was good at business, good at deals, and deeply restless in a way that a printing company could not fully satisfy. He opened Gas Monkey Garage in Dallas in 2002, using money from the printing business to finance a custom car shop that reflected what he actually cared about. The garage spent a decade as a respected but not nationally famous custom shop before the Discovery Channel found it and recognized what was already there. The pitch was simple. Richard Rawlings would hunt down broken and forgotten classic cars, buy them cheap, bring them back to the Gas Monkey Garage, and his team would transform them into things worth selling at a serious profit. The show would follow the whole process, from the hunt to the build to the sale, with the clock and the budget always creating pressure. It worked immediately. The chemistry between Richards and his lead mechanic, Aaron Kaufman, was genuine, built on years of working together before any camera arrived. Richards was the face, the deal-maker, the personality who could talk anyone into or out of anything. Aaron was the craftsman, quieter and more technical, the one who actually had to deliver what Richard promised. The tension between those two roles, the salesman and the builder, was the engine that drove the show forward week after week. The show peaked during Season 4 in December 2013, when it pulled 3.176 million viewers in the United States alone, making it one of the highest-rated programs on Discovery at the time. By that point, the Gas Monkey brand had expanded beyond the garage into merchandise, restaurants, and entertainment venues. Richard had become one of the most recognizable faces in automotive television. The show had created something larger than itself. And then the cracks started showing. Why Aaron Kaufman left and what it did to the show. Aaron Kaufman was not just a mechanic on Fast and Loud. He was one of the founding members of Gas Monkey Garage, present from before the show existed, the technical backbone of every build that Richard ever sold. His nickname on the show was the Bearded Wonder, and the audience genuinely loved him in a way that was completely separate from their affection for Richard. They were different kinds of television personalities. Richard was entertainment and volume. Aaron was competence and quiet humor. The problem that developed over time was structural. Television, especially the kind of episodic reality format that Fast and Loud used, requires builds to be completed on a schedule that the network controls, not on a schedule that the cars themselves dictate. Aaron is a fabricator who cares deeply about doing things properly, and the pressure to finish builds faster than he considered right began to wear on him. He wanted to take on larger, more ambitious projects, the kind that would take months to complete and represent genuine craftsmanship. The show needed cars that could be turned around in a time frame that fit between commercial breaks. He told Art of Gears magazine that the breaking point for him was a specific build called the Pantera. He said he wanted to build cars that were that big or bigger, and that the television schedule needed cars that were much smaller than that. He also described growing personal issues and professional differences of opinion that he decided could not be resolved within the structure of the show. He saw a fork in the road and chose the direction that led away from Gas Monkey. He announced his departure on camera during a March 2017 episode, telling Richard directly that the vacation he had just come back from was going to become a permanent one. Richard was clearly caught off guard. He later wrote on the Gas Monkey Garage blog that the departure was not his decision and came completely out of left field, that Aaron had been part of the garage since day one, and that moving forward without his talents would be a painful process. He also wrote that it would be an insult to the rest of the team to suggest that Gas Monkey could not survive without one person. In a 2018 interview, Aaron was honest about where things stood between him and Richard after the split. He said it was not that they had an unfriendly relationship, that they did, but that they did not have much of one at all anymore. He said he saw the world very differently from Richard, saw how people interact with humans differently, and saw what relationships with people were worth differently. That is not a description of a feud. It is a description of two people who had grown in different directions and no longer had enough common ground to stay in the same building. The show continued for 4 more seasons without Aaron, and the ratings remained acceptable. But the specific electricity of the original partnership never came back. What the audience had responded to so strongly was not just the cars or the garage, but the specific dynamic between two men who had worked together long enough to genuinely irritate each other in ways that felt real rather than scripted. Now we know why Aaron walked away, but why did Richard also leave the show he built? Why Richard Rawlings walked away from Discovery? The ending of Fast and Loud is not a cancellation story in the traditional sense. It is a story about one man deciding that the deal he had made with a television network no longer suited what he wanted to do with his life, and choosing to walk away from a successful show on his own terms. Richard explained what happened during an appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience podcast in December 2020, 6 months after the final episode aired. The core of the problem, as he described it, was the exclusive arrangement he had with Discovery. He was contractually tied to the network in a way that prevented him from developing projects elsewhere, from working with other production partners, and from taking the garage in directions that the network did not approve. The format of the show also constrained what the garage could take on. Complex builds that would take months, the kind of projects that a serious custom shop would aspire to, did not fit inside the episodic structure of a weekly cable show. The fact that the show's ratings were actually at their best during the 16th and final season made the decision more striking. Richard was not walking away from a failing show. He was walking away from a successful one because the terms of the relationship had become more restrictive than the income justified. He wanted to be a free agent, capable of building whatever he wanted to build with whoever he wanted to work with, without a network approval process attached to every decision. The show was formally canceled on June 8, 2020, almost exactly 8 years after its first episode aired. The garage did not close. The brand did not disappear. What ended was the specific arrangement between Richard Rawlings and the Discovery Channel that had structured his professional life for nearly a decade. So, where is Richard now, and what is he doing? Richard Rawlings' reality. Once the exclusive Discovery arrangement ended, Richard moved quickly to establish what Gas Monkey Garage looked like as a free operation. He launched a YouTube channel that documents the garage's ongoing work and has accumulated over 1 million subscribers, giving the brand a platform that the garage controls directly rather than through a network middleman. The channel produces regular content, keeping the audience connected to what is happening at the garage without the scheduling and editorial constraints of a television deal. He launched a podcast called Monkey Trap, which covers a wider range of subjects than the show ever did, including episodes about topics far removed from automotive culture. He has appeared on multiple other shows and podcasts as a guest, including The Adam Carolla Show and Bertcast, maintaining the media presence that the Discovery years built without being tied to a single network. The Garage itself has shifted its focus in ways that reflect what Richard always wanted to do when the TV schedule was not dictating the pace. He has been taking on more extreme and unusual projects, things like a 6x6 Humvee and a French-made recreational tank, the kind of builds that would have been impossible to schedule around an episode deadline. He has also been actively selling portions of his personal car collection through auctions, using the proceeds to buy more significant vehicles with stronger histories, upgrading the quality of what he is working on rather than simply building volume. In early 2025, Richard launched Gas Monkey Buys, a service that allows vehicle owners anywhere to submit details and photographs of what they have, receive a quote from the garage, and potentially sell to Gas Monkey directly. The concept applies the business model that made the show compelling, finding undervalued vehicles and turning them into something more, but operates it as a digital service rather than a road trip television format. He is also producing content on Discovery through a show called Wheels and Deals, which launched in February 2021 and covers the vehicle acquisition side of the business in a shorter format. His net worth is estimated at around $18 million, which reflects both the television income and the business empire that the show's popularity allowed him to build. Gas Monkey has been a brand applied to the garage, to merchandise, to restaurants, and to entertainment venues, though the restaurant side produced legal difficulties in 2018 when a civil dispute with the partners who ran the Gas Monkey Bar and Grill resulted in a lawsuit and countersuit. Both sides settled in August 2021, and the venue rebranded entirely, ending the dispute. He has married twice, with his second marriage to Katarina Deason taking place during a 2015 episode of the show itself, in a moment of television history that was either romantic or extremely on-brand, depending on your perspective. That marriage also ended in divorce. He has remained professionally active at a pace that suggests the end of Fast and Loud was not a slowdown for him, but a redirection. That's all about Richard. So, where is the bearded wonder who left for his own creative freedom? Aaron Kaufman builds whatever he wants now. When Aaron Kaufman left Gas Monkey Garage, he did not take a break. He opened ArcLight Fabrication in Dallas, Texas, in 2017, a boutique restomod shop that specializes exclusively in Ford F-100 pickup trucks from the 1957 to 1979 model years. The F-100 is an American icon, a full-size pickup that ran for multiple generations and has a passionate collector community built around it. Aaron had always been drawn to trucks, and ArcLight gave him the freedom to work on them in exactly the way he had been unable to do inside the television schedule. The shop later moved to Austin, Texas, and operates as a small, focused fabrication business that takes on the kind of long, careful, quality-first builds that Aaron always wanted to do. It does not produce the volume of work that Gas Monkey did at the peak of the show, and that is entirely by design. ArcLight is the opposite of television automotive content. It is slow, deliberate, expensive, and aimed at buyers who want something genuinely special rather than something quickly turned. He did return to television after leaving Gas Monkey, briefly. Discovery gave him his own show called Shifting Gears with Aaron Kaufman in 2018, which followed him at ArcLight building the trucks he had always wanted to build in the way he wanted to build them. The show ran for one season of 12 episodes and was not renewed. The explanation that most observers settled on was tonal. On Fast and Loud, Aaron had been the comic relief, the calm technical counterpoint to Richard's constant energy. As the sole star of his own show, that energy was not present. And Aaron came across as considerably more intense and less entertaining without Richard to play against. He also appeared in a discovery show called Aaron Needs a Job, which followed him in a lighter format, exploring different types of work. He has done development work with tuning companies including Life Motorsport and Sierra Cars. His net worth is estimated at around $8 million, built from his television career and the business he has been running independently since 2017. When asked about his relationship with Richard in the years since, Aaron has been consistent in saying there is no hostility between them. The distance is personal rather than bitter. They see the world differently, always did, and the professional relationship that once made those differences productive eventually reached a point where they needed different environments to do their best work. What of the rest of the crew? Where are they today? Christy Brimberry, Sue, Mike Coy, and the rest of the crew. Christy Brimberry was the office manager of Gas Monkey Garage throughout the run of Fast and Loud, and her role extended well beyond administration. She was one of the most visible personalities on the show, the person who translated between Richard's energy and the operational reality of running a business. In 2016, she went public with her diagnosis of thyroid cancer. She underwent treatment and recovered, and her openness about the experience during a period when she was also a regular television presence made her one of the more genuinely admired figures connected to the show. She stepped back from Gas Monkey after the show ended, and her husband Kevin Brimberry passed away in 2021 following a battle with cancer, which was a loss that came only a few years after her own health battle. Sue Martin was the upholstery specialist who became one of Fast and Loud's most memorable recurring personalities. She ran her own shop, ASM Auto Upholstery, and was the person Gas Monkey called whenever interior work needed doing on a build. She was funny, direct, and entirely herself on camera, which gave her scenes a quality that was different from the main cast. She disappeared from the show during its later seasons without explanation from either side, and neither she nor Richard made public statements about why. Her shop remained open and operating independently of the show throughout. Mike Coy was a mechanic at Gas Monkey who appeared across the show's run and became well known to the regular audience. After Fast and Loud ended, he moved on to his own television work, appearing as a lead on a show called Tex-Mex Motors in 2024, which documented automotive restoration in a Texas and Mexico context. The show gave him a platform of his own after years of being a supporting presence at someone else's garage. The Misfit Garage crew, which included Tom Smith, Jordan Butler, and Scott McMillan, came out of a storyline in Fast and Loud in which the three of them were fired from Gas Monkey and went on to form their own competing shop. The show Misfit Garage, which covered their operation, was produced by Richard himself and ran until 2016 before being canceled. Tom Smith subsequently pursued stand-up comedy, which anyone who watched him on television could probably have predicted as a natural direction for someone with his comedic instincts. Gas Monkey Garage is still open and still producing content. ArcLight Fabrication is still building Ford F-100 trucks the way Aaron always wanted to build them. The show ran for 16 seasons, produced hundreds of builds, and helped create a moment in automotive television that has not been fully replicated since. The combination of Richard's deal-making personality, Aaron's technical ability, and the genuine tension between speed and quality that drove the drama was specific to those people in that place at that time. What survives from it is the brand, the garage, the YouTube channel, and the memories of a run of television that made a lot of people care about cars they had never seen. deals they were not part of, and two personalities who were more interesting together than either of them has quite managed to be apart. That combination is rare in any genre of television, and the 16 seasons that Fast and Loud produced are a permanent record of what it looked like when it worked. Were you a fan of Fast and Loud from the beginning, or did you come to it later in its run? And do you think Richard Rawlings and Aaron Kaufman will ever work together again? Or has that chapter closed for good? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.